Well, let's stay with this story now as we talk to Nomzamo Zondo from the Socio-Economic Rights Institute. She represents, as we said earlier, 36 families who were affected by the massacre. Ms. Zondo, thank you very much for giving us your time.
Good evening.
Of the 9 officers, or perhaps let's start here, the incident that these police officers appeared in court for was the events of 13 August in the lead up to the 16th. Do you represent any families among these people who were killed on the 13th?
So SERI represents 3 families, the family of Jokanisi, Mati and Sokanyile. Those miners were killed on the 13th by the police. The appearances also involve the hiding of where Mr. Sekhalala died. Mr. Sekhalala died on the 16th of August. So that's still from the 16th.
So Mr. Sekhalala dies on the 16th of August, but when does it die exactly? Does it die during the police shooting on the 16th, or was it before that?
So he is shot during the police shooting, and then he's arrested, despite him informing the police that he's injured. He's put in a police van with other miners who say, look, this person is seriously injured, this person's going to die. But the police go with him, and he dies on the way to the police station. He's found dead at the police station. But in the commission, the police informed the commission that this man died in hospital. So even if you look at the commission's report, it says Mr. Sekhalala died in hospital.
How confident are you that the people that you represent, whose family members died on that day, how confident are you that their family members died as a result of police action and not the miners' actions? Because the miners were also involved, allegedly, in the killing of some people on that particular day.
So we are very confident, because in the evidence in the commission, it's very clear what happened on the 13th. It's very clear, for instance, how Mr. Sokanyile died. There is some information about how he died, where he died. It's clear that he had been running with other miners, that he's chased by police. He crosses the river and is shot while he's across the river. And when he's shot, other miners try and pick him up and help him. But it gets to a point where he's simply too heavy, and they're also running for their own lives. So they are the miners, the policemen that appeared in court today, some of them are directly linked to that incident, apart from the death of Mr. Mati and Mr. Jokanis.
So police officers, about 9 of them, appearing in court today. How do you see things panning out? Are you confident that police may ultimately be held to account for what occurred on that day?
Look, the one thing that is comforting is the fact that IPID is the one that found the information on Mr. Sekhalala. They are the ones who did the investigation, even though the commission's report had it wrong, even though the police had lied to the commission. They were able to find this information and then to decide to prosecute the 4 police that are involved in that incident. For the families, and I think even for SERI, we are hopeful that this is a brave new step towards justice. We're also hopeful that for once the families will have something concrete where they say, my husband was shot by this person in these circumstances. If you read the report of the commission, in fact, it's only about 3 miners where there's an attempt to give a narration of what actually happened to them. So after 2 years, after hundreds of millions of rands, the family still ask the simple question of what happened to my husband. And they are hoping that not only with this appearance, but with other people who are going to get prosecuted, they'll get to a point where they're saying, my husband was standing behind a rock, he was hiding, and this specific policeman shot him, and that's why he's not here with me today.
Put yourself in the shoes of the police officers, family members, the 2 police officers who died on that day. What would you say to those family members, given that it is alleged, of course it's not proven yet, it'll be proven once in court, it is alleged that the miners were behind their murders?
Look, I mean, the reality is that that prosecution has been ongoing now for over 2 years, right? So their family members, that death has been investigated by the police. There was a decision to prosecute, and I think they have every right to seek justice for their dead husbands and wives. But that doesn't take away from the fact that in the very same way, Semi's 5 children need justice for their father's death. Mr. Mati's children need justice for his death. His wife, his mother deserve justice for his death. And so what we're saying here is that for everyone, you must treat them in the same way. And I want to just raise a point here. One of the complaints that we've had is that in communication with the NPA, in communication with IPID, they have refused to release any information to the families of the deceased. So understanding that in our criminal law, the state sits as the representative of the victim and holds the victim's claim on the victim's behalf, they haven't been able to get information on what is happening. Even with this appearance, we're only informed that there will be an appearance, that policemen will be charged, full stop. When they went to court, no one came to me and said, look, we are here because, in fact, even at this point, even at the end of today, we do not know of 15 counts that the 6 policemen are charged of is in regard to his murder. I'm certain that it includes Mr. Sokanyile. I'm then hopeful that it includes Mr. Mati and Mr. Chokanis. But that information hasn't been relayed to the families. And it's a very strange situation in South Africa, because in any other case, and I promise you, in the case of the policemen, someone went to their house and said, we've arrested someone.
Are you certain of that?
I'm certain that that's what happened. I'm certain that the communication from the police to them, there would have been that communication. From the NPA to them, there would have been a communication.
So in essence, you're not happy, you're not satisfied with the actions of the prosecuting authority?
In relation to how they've dealt with the victims, definitely we're not satisfied.
As mentioned earlier, you represent 36 family members of the people who died, including, of course, the majority who would have died on the 16th of August. The President, in February, in Parliament, spoke about healing and atonement. What would you say to his statements about, in particular, atoning for what has happened there? Do you feel that there's something that he needs to do?
Look, I think...
Something specific, perhaps, that he needs to do?
So there's specific things the families have requested. They've requested an apology, right?
Directly from him?
They've requested an apology from the Minister of Police. That apology hasn't been forthcoming. They have brought civil claims. There is open engagement with the state attorney about settlement of those claims. I'm hopeful to say that might be resolved soon. In relation to the prosecutions themselves, the families want everyone who is accountable, who is responsible for what happened in Marikana from the 13th to the 16th to be prosecuted. So they would want the president, even if, we're not saying he must interfere, but we want him to put a call through to the NTPP and say, so you charged 9 people. 36 people died. In effect, now only 4 of those people have been dealt with today. We need to know what happened to other 32 minors who died. We need those people prosecuted, responsible prosecuted. We need to have whoever injured the other 70 minors prosecuted. That is what we're asking from the president. We're asking for him to address the issue of the apology, to resolve the issue of compensation, to ensure that there is prosecution of those responsible.
Right. Thank you very much for your time, Nomzamo Zondo. She represents the families, most of the families whose loved ones died on the 16th of August, the majority of them, and of course, some of them in the lead-up.